Hello, I am doing my very first book review for my new apartment. Alex and I recently moved, so this is my new couch. We also recently got married, so it's been a very, very busy summer, but I still have been making time to read, and I just finished a book yesterday that I have very strong feelings about, and that was The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I very, very, very much enjoyed this book. TJ Klune, this is what it says about him in the back, is the New York Times and USA Today, oh, my brownies are done, best-selling, something award-winning. Being queer himself, Klune believes it's important now more than ever to have accurate, positive, queer representation in stories. And then one of the little quotes at the top of the book says, "I loved it. It's like being wrapped up in a big gay blanket. Simply perfect." So this book, if I had to describe it to somebody who had never read it before, I would say it's Harry Potter mixed with A Man Called Ove mixed with Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Because basically what this book is about is an orphanage for magical children. And so that's kind of where we get the Miss Peregrine's Home. And then there is a character in it named Linus who works for like the Department of Magical Youth, which is kind of where I feel like we're getting Harry Potter vibes, like the Ministry of Magic kind of. And then I get A Man Called Ove vibes because Linus is kind of a rule follower, doesn't have a lot of excitement or color in his life. So if you take all the really, really cute, fun parts of those three stories and make a book about it, that would be this book. So it is 394 pages. It came out in 2020, so it's relatively new, and it currently holds a 4.43 on Goodreads, which is very high. I gave it a 4, not a 5, and we'll get into why in a second, but this is going to be a very fast review because this book was so good. All I want to do is talk about how good it was. So the main character, Linus, works for the DIOCMY, whatever, which stands for the Department of something magical youth, and his job is to go to different orphanages housing these magical children and make sure that they are safe and they're functioning properly and that the children are safe, and if they're not safe or being run well, they get shut down. In this universe, not everyone has powers, so it's not like Harry Potter where every witch and wizard can do whatever they want. This is like there are very specific like species, I guess, of magical beings, and in this society those beings are like feared or kind of misrepresented. And so this orphanage that he is sent to check out is full of kind of what the ministry or whatever department considers like the worst of the worst. So part that made me giggle is just looking through the kids' files, and the first kid he looks at is the Antichrist. There is a sprite, there's a gnome, there's a green kind of amorphous blob named Chauncey, and there are so many things about this book that are just so cute and charming, and the author does an amazing job of like writing these scenes that are just charming. That's kind of the only way I can describe it. For example, the green blob named Chauncey, all he wants to do is be a bellhop. And so, like, that's his biggest dream. So when Linus arrives on this island to investigate this orphanage, Chauncey's so excited to take his luggage, and, you know, he asked for a tip and all this stuff, and it's really, really cute. Without ruining what happens, the kind of, like, guy in charge of the orphanage, his name is Arthur, and he has all these children that are in his care, and Linus has come to investigate them, and it's unlike any other orphanage he's ever seen because the kids have a lot more free reign to kind of do what they want, and he's a little shocked by how much freedom the kids have and what they're allowed to do and stuff, but then slowly as he spends, I think it's like a month, as he spends the month there, he sees how much these kids are loved by Arthur and how happy they truly are, and Linus is able to kind of look within himself and realize my life is not as good as it could be. I'm living this boring life and I'm not happy. And of course, on this island with Arthur and all these amazing, cute, wonderful children, he starts to really, really grow to care about them, which is not in the job description. He's always very, very careful not to get attached to any of the kids that he's investigating. And so that's hard for Linus because he's starting to really care about these kids. And so that's kind of where the whole dilemma comes up with what's going to happen to this orphanage once he goes back to the city where he lived. And that's basically what this book is about. The reason I did not give it 5 stars is, unlike Frederick Backman's writing, who is probably my favorite author of all time, unlike A Man Called Ove or Anxious People or whatever, when a sweet moment happens in those books, it's usually pretty like subtle and quick, and when you're done reading it, you just feel like, this book had so many sweet moments, and they were so cheesy that I don't know, it didn't give me the same vibe as A Man Called Ove did, where Ove is this crotchety old man who slowly learns to like care for his neighbors and all this stuff. But Linus is lovable from the beginning. He's just kind of this round man who takes his job way too seriously, and he grows to love these children, and he grows to love Arthur, and it's just at times it's so gooey that it's almost too much, you know what I mean? So that's why I didn't give it a 5. It was really cheesy. I was reading a lot of reviews about this on Goodreads because everybody loves it. It is a very, very sweet book, but some people are very angry because it is based off of a real thing that happened in the 60s in Canada, which is called the 60s Snatch, I think, in which the Canadian government rounded up all these Native American children and put them into orphanages or schools and basically tried to assimilate them. And so TJ Klune has said in an interview that this idea for this story was inspired by the 60s Snatch, and a lot of people were not happy with that because that's a really traumatic and horrible thing that happened in history, and TJ Klune kind of turned it into this like whimsical, cute story. And so if that's something you're interested in looking into, I looked into it a little bit and it just made me really sad, so I stopped. But supposedly that's where he got the inspiration for this book, was a real pretty traumatic thing that happened a while ago. So but anyway, I don't want to get into what happens because it is just very, very, very sweet, cute. If you're looking for a book that's going to give you the warm fuzzies, this is definitely it. I can't wait to read more by this author. He recently came out with one called Under the Whispering Door, and I don't believe it's any continuation of this story. I think it's a separate story altogether. I love the cover art. There's the orphanage, there's a little van they can drive around. It's just, I loved this book. It was super cute. And if you like gay romances, you're gonna like this one. Oh, another thing I liked about this book was that there was no homophobia. The townspeople in this village where this story takes place are really, really scared of these magical kids and think they're an abomination, but they don't give a shit that Arthur's gay. So that's kind of refreshing. I love when homophobia is just not even part of the story, because it doesn't need to be, Arthur is who he is, Linus is who he is, everyone can tell they're falling for each other, and in the end, everything works out. And so if you're looking for a sweet, cute love story, go ahead and give us a read, and hopefully I'll pick up the Whispering Door one, and if I like it as much as I like this one, it'll be good. So, okay, bye.